Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Historical Humans Reacts. And on today's episode, we are looking at cave art in Puerto Rico, but more specifically, radiocarbon dates pushed it back even further, teaching us brand new information that we didn't know about America's favorite little island.
Yeah. Radiocarbon dating, excuse me, is sort of the act of basically there is a isotope called carbon 14, and it's in every living material that ever lived, and it starts decaying the minute.
Organic.
Yeah. All right. We'll use all the fancy terms then. It's an all organic material,
I feel like
and
organic people would understand.
listen, we're not getting into that. Have you seen the grocery aisles? Have you seen the war
All
around here?
organic archaeological evidence column. That's all I do. It's all organic.
Yeah. But basically, if something was ever once a living thing, it has carbon 14. And the
Yes.
carbon 14 level of that living thing starts decaying when it dies. And so when we take little samples from places, we can run them through a machine, and that machine will tell us how decayed the carbon 14 is. And from there, we can do a little bit of math, and that tells us how long ago the object died.
Which, in the
So,
case of paintings like this, the pigments are made of a living material, usually ash. If we're going to be honest, it's carbon compound. And they're able to date when that had died and when it had actually been turned into this pigment.
yeah.
Which is pretty nifty. Pretty neat. It could also be a compound made from a living substance. This article doesn't really describe what the material is, but they looked at 61 different pigments, so I'm imagining that they had a pretty wide array. And for them to actually push a date back, archaeologists are very hesitant to do anything that is new information or groundbreaking. Like if you find something that pushes dates back, you start panicking because you're gonna go, "Oh crap! How do I justify this? Is this legitimate? This is out of our normal data set. We're just statisticians at the end of the day."
Yeah. The pigments which have historically come from things like charcoal, berries, famously the Phoenicians crushed up crabs.
Shell was another famous compound. Yeah.
You know, uh, all these things. They did 61 pigments across 11 caves, and they pushed the dates back, saying that the earliest pictographs dated back as far as 700 BCE.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's a pretty large jump. So that's 1,200 years ago at the very earliest.
yeah,
Wow, that is very impressive, and it's kind of cool because this allows us to go in. Um, and then there were other more complex drawings that were dated to 700 AD and around 1500. So it was clear that they came back into this cave multiple times to actually do the artwork and to do it. And when we're talking about they, who is this royal they?
We've detailed three different phases: 700 to 400 BCE, 200 to 400 CE, and 700 to 1500 CE. That they go through different phases of styles of artwork. Um,
Which the group we're talking about specifically is the Taino people, the indigenous of Puerto Rico.
they are the indigenous people of the island of Mona, which is part of Puerto Rico.
The
Uh,
Taino are the indigenous for all of Puerto Rico, including Mona. This is just where the artwork was on
sorry.
Mona.
Yes. No, no, no. All right, that's me. Yeah, that's me reading a sentence and coming to a different than what it intended. Yeah,
Our
I'm not
favorite.
overworked. I'm not doing that often.
The team led by Alice Sampson of the University of Leicester and British Museum archaeologist Jago Cooper.
Dun, 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 dun. Uh,
Everywhere you turn, you see that name.
yeah. Uh, Additionally, one of the caves contains markings from 16th century Spanish people. Uh, so that was pretty interesting.
It's kind of cool to note that the European inscriptions don't actually overlap the indigenous markings, which indicates and gives the impression that the Spaniards were careful not to deface the artwork. And it was really cool. Cooper notes that it's as if the two traditions were in a dialogue with each other, and it is very possible that it was the Taino who had converted to Christianity that came back and did that. Because it's very
Yeah,
likely that they came back to this spiritually important place and placed the new iconography next to old iconography. And it shows this transition of both spirituality, religion, and culture kind of melding together here.
yeah, and the cave entrance itself is particularly difficult to find. So if the Spanish came upon it, it was most likely that the indigenous people led them there. And there appears to be this cave being used as a sign of camaraderie between the indigenous and the Spanish, as a number of names are inscribed into the walls, including the name of uh, Francisco Alegre, who was the man in charge of Puerto Rico for a time. And so it's probably a certain degree of ceremonial, mark this off as now Christian site.
Which, when we say Christian site, they had inscribed a number of crosses, a bunch of Latin phrases from the Bible, and then obviously the signatures of the officials. So it's a really cool blending of two cultures here, and like you see this repeated visitation. And I don't know about you, but I always find it very interesting and very fascinating that humans, as much as we like to think, are sophisticated and more improved or like greater versions of than the historical people that came before us. But in hindsight, we're really exactly the fucking same. Nothing has changed except what we draw on. Because you go into any standard high school, and I guarantee you'll find years worth of drawings and doodles and just various markings that people have done.
Let's compare the ancient spiritual art of
Okay,
an indigenous people to the bathroom stall art of of your average high school. Let's go there.
no, but it is a general can.
Yeah. People
I
draw on things. People draw on
Do you want me to talk
things.
about the Roman dicks?
The Roman graffiti is very well documented.
they're,
But
they're,
yeah,
they
people draw on things. We ascribe significance to the things we draw, and sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's communal. Here it's communal, and it goes back way earlier than anyone thought, as early as 2,700 years ago.
and just seeing any expression of art on caves is honestly just incredible, both historic and modern historic, if you want to call it that, being the 16th century. But like, it's truly I love it. I love seeing it, but I think that's a good place for us to wrap up here. If you guys enjoyed today's video, let us know down below. If there's a topic you'd like to see us talk about, let us know, and we'll see you in the next video.